Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to journey deep into a pretty profound inner landscape. We're exploring the architecture of the soul, and we're doing it through the story of a woman named Ariella. But honestly, this isn't just a story. It's really a structural blueprint for how we maintain our growth and reclaim our authentic selves, all centering around this revolutionary, frankly beautiful concept called gentle loyalty. So let's jump right in. Are you living well, but living small? We are heavily conditioned to equate consistency with this harsh, relentless perfectionism. We literally treat our daily habits like a test. We are constantly failing, doing this exhausting, unpaid job of self-erasure. We've convinced ourselves that to actually transform, we have to force ourselves into rigid compliance. From the outside, sure, we look highly responsible. We've totally mastered the art of functioning. Yet inside, there's this persistent ache. It's that feeling of being successful by every conventional measure, yet somehow entirely missing from your own life. And that brings us to a really brilliant turning point. By dropping into the calm, ancient voice of Jael, pronounced JL, who acts as Ariella's inner guide, we're given a totally new directive. This is not where you become someone else. This is where you remember who you have been beneath the noise. Jael isn't some external savior. She's the older, wiser soul within. And through her, we're invited to just completely abandon the trap of fixing ourselves like we're broken projects. Instead, we're invited to journey inward and remember the truth we've honestly carried all along. But to do this, we have to physically navigate the inner geography of the soul. Imagine stepping barefoot onto the hallway boards of an old-century home. The rain is threading down the window panes like quiet handwriting. You find a hidden seam in the wall, but the hinges, they're completely rusted shut by fear and years of disuse. And guarding this passage is the threshold lion. He's this vast, silent creature with a golden mane. But here's the thing, he doesn't block your way. He just meets your fear with unbothered strength, basically reminding you that bravery isn't a personality trait, it's a decision. So you press your shoulder against the wood, the door opens, and you descend a hidden staircase right into your own soul. And you arrive here, the presence sanctuary. You're completely surrounded by the soft, unearthly light and the rich aroma of cedar and old ink. There are floor-to-ceiling shelves lining the walls, but they don't hold ordinary objects. They're the shelves of moments, holding your waiting stories, your unfallen tears, and all those shelved dreams. These dusty, unloved manuscripts are just vibrating with the latent power of your unclaimed potential, practically begging for you to embody them. Grounding this incredibly sacred space right in the center of the room is a low table. It holds a blank textured journal, a fountain pen, and a candle that simply burns forever. And right there, claiming the single chair as his absolute personal throne, is Whiskers, the silver-striped cat. Utterly unbothered by the mystical architecture around him, Whiskers is your anchor. He's there to remind you that the body understands comfort long before the mind does. In this space, you are profoundly safe. You aren't required to manage your life or perform for an audience here. You are simply invited to be.
Section 2. The Mirror That Remembers, highlighting the dichotomy of the self. So before we can build a new life, we actually have to look really closely at how we've been operating. Notice how we usually treat our reflection like a courtroom? The practiced self evaluates absolutely everything, gathering evidence of all our flaws, constantly planning how to do better, negotiating for belonging through endless performance. But Jakal commands a totally different approach. The authentic self uses the mirror as a doorway. Here you don't fix, you witness. You meet your lived-in life with compassionate accuracy, giving yourself honest feedback without the punishment. And let me tell you, the shift from fixing to witnessing, that is exactly where true alignment begins. Moving on to Section 3, the creaking stairway of practice and the architecture of deep alignment. To escape that exhausting trap of the courtroom, we move over to a narrow wooden stairway tucked within the sanctuary. And this brings us right to the core of Ariella's journey and the core of our explainer today. Defining gentle loyalty. It is the profound shift from shame-fueled perfectionism to a steady, really compassionate devotion to your own continuous becoming. It is literally the architecture of deep alignment.
Let's move step by step up this stairway together and see how the architecture of gentle loyalty brilliantly redefines our daily practice. It's broken down into 5 tight points. And as we unpack these, I want you to actively think about how you approach your own daily habits and goals.
Step 1 teaches us about the quiet work. You see, the journey of becoming isn't sustained merely by these dramatic, fiery breakthroughs. It requires the quiet work that actually builds the home. In the sanctuary, this wooden stairway promises to creak like a confession under your weight. It doesn't demand massive, roaring courage. Instead, it asks for the softer, steadier strength of quiet consistency. Moving to step 2, we absolutely must release the demand for perfection. Whenever we try to build new habits, our internal gatekeeper tries to sabotage us with what sounds like absolute logic, whispering things like, "You'll get tired, you'll forget, you won't be consistent." We have to actively silence that all-or-nothing trap. As Janelle teaches us, consistency is not perfection. It is gentle loyalty to your becoming.
Now, step 3 is absolutely crucial: honoring effort over arrival. In a culture that demands this seamless, silent performance from us, we so often view our struggles as hard evidence of failure. But on this stairway, the creak of the wood is not an accusation. It's not a sign of weakness. It is simply honest. Gentle loyalty treats the creak of your effort as a truthful act of grace, focusing entirely on your brave choice to take the step, rather than aggressively judging whether you executed it flawlessly.
Ascending to step 4, Jaquel completely reframes our relationship with self-force. We typically associate discipline with a really harsh inner critic and shame-fueled perfectionism, but Jaquel offers this incredibly liberating truth. Discipline is not punishment. It is devotion. Just let that sink in for a second. By removing the shame, your daily practice transitions from an exhausting obligation into a quiet, beautiful act of self-love.
And finally, step 5 reveals the sheer power of small faithfulness. While courage is that initial decision to cross the threshold, becoming is a practice. You don't just seize your future in one dramatic, sweeping moment. You earn it, step by step, through the faithful actions repeated in the consistency of your ordinary days. Wisdom literally has to become movement.
Section 4, 5 lifelines for your return. Let's look at the growth challenges you need to embrace.
So how often have you stood in your own hallway feeling the exact same way as Ariella? Highly successful but somehow missing? Living well but living small? What should you actually take away from her descent into the sanctuary? Well, here are your 5 key lifelines. These are actionable growth challenges derived directly from the Stairway of Practice, and I am challenging you to embrace these this week. 1. Build your inner home through quiet work. 2. Stop demanding absolute perfection from yourself. 3. Treat your cliquing effort as grace. 4. Reframe your discipline into devotion. And 5. Rewrite your authentic future through the faithfulness of your ordinary days. It is time to replace that all-or-nothing hustle with sustainable, gentle alignment.
I want to leave you with this final, powerful thought. Read this mantra with me. I rise by small faithfulness. I grow by gentle devotion. I become what I practice. Take this mantra with you as you leave the present sanctuary today. Write it down somewhere, return to it whenever the world gets a little too loud. Thank you so much for exploring this inner architecture with me in today's Explainer. Please join us again for the next Ink and Fire session and Present Sanctuary Chronicles. Remember, your truest guide is already right inside you. The only question left is, what will you practice today? See you next time.